Hello everyone, Bill Parish here from GTT Audio, and welcome to the channel today. Well, today you see one familiar face and two new faces. Of course, right there in the middle, the familiar face, Dr. David Robinson, Editor-in-Chief of Positive Feedback. Here in front of me is Dr. Dave Robinson, also a PFO. And over there on David's left is Dean Waters of Positive Feedback as well. And if you know that name, that's because Dean has been writing just some incredible reviews for us. They did it on the Vivid Kaya K45s, the Kaya K90, the Mola Mola Perka. He's going to do the Mola. He did just did. In fact, in our last a couple of days ago when we sent out our news blast, and it's on our Facebook page right at the top. We've got Dean's marvelous review of the Mola Mola Tambaki. Dean, I know you're rather new to the writing over at PFO, but you are just doing a phenomenal job, and I think you're really taking the readers, connecting with them in a way that they understand. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate that a lot.
really,
Thank you.
really doing it in depth. So we're gonna, hey, as long as Dean's still interested in it, we're gonna keep feeding him with products.
It's a wonderful experience and also educational because it gives me the opportunity to do these deep dives into technology. We listen to it and we love what we hear, and then I want to go further and try to quantify, well, what is it that's happening that makes this so good? What are the not just features and benefits, but let's get into some of the technology behind it and try to understand why behind the what.
Yes.
So just love it.
Well, thank you. I need to thank all three of you for taking the time to stop in here and tour my place, hear what's new. A lot of brand new stuff for you, Dean, and
Yes.
for you, Dave. But and David, I just had to have you stop in on our way to Munich.
Yes.
On your way to Munich, you came from Portland and flew here, and David, I wanted to make sure that you heard this Master Fidelity NADAC DNC because that, well, I think it's a redefining product.
Yeah, this is one where you need to be listening up because having heard dozens of DACs over the years, something's happening with the MF DAC that is beyond anything I've heard in anything else. Once more, Bill ends up adding another sui generis product to his product line, and it's startling to hear. I think this is the first time that I've heard digital audio, especially DSD, sounding absolutely like analog. There is no trace of any sense that is digital at all.
Well, and we're hearing it not only through the dynamic range, top to bottom, we're also hearing it through the frequency range, top to bottom. It's
Right.
consistent, like nothing else, all the way through. And the staging is phenomenal. And we've been here. Today is Sunday. No, yeah, today is Monday.
We've been here since Saturday.
We got here Saturday. We've been listening since Saturday.
Nonstop, pretty much.
Pretty much nonstop. And the NADAC is new,
right?
And it's just now breaking in.
We have 1 week on it, and I've never seen any DAC that stopped breaking in before a month.
And all three of us are noticing a difference day over day. First day we got here, it was wonderful. Second day, it was better. Today, it's phenomenal. We're picking up this sense of 3D spacing. We talk about sound space. We're often talking about placement left to right with some depth, with some concept of 3D depth. Well, today, David and I were talking. We're saying all we're getting is just this full. We're hearing sounds coming from us from behind the back wall of the room. David said, I closed my eyes. I couldn't point to the speakers, but I could point to the French horn. I could point to the violin section. I can point to the timpani. And some of those players are playing from the next room over. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
You close your eyes and you're in the concert hall.
You are there. You are on the stage.
You close your eyes, you don't see the speakers anymore, and you couldn't tell where they were from the sound point. It just fills in like there's an orchestra there.
Well, Master Fidelity has done such a phenomenal job here. They haven't simply done an incremental improvement. I mean, I've known the NADAC since it was first released.
Yeah, the first iteration of it.
Very first iteration of it. And Dominique Bouhat was so kind as to upgrade that for me personally when it needed a hardware upgrade. It's been a stellar performer, but advances in digital audio and advances in the reproduction of DSD have come along. But, and listen to me carefully when I say this is a quantum leap. We're in our 35th year of publication of the magazine, and
Congratulations.
yeah,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you. And I am absolutely struck dumb by the way that Master Fidelity has taken DSD reproduction to a level I have never heard before. The PCM's okay. I mean, obviously the PCM's better too. But for me, DSD represents the ultimate standard.
Well, it's just a higher level, yeah.
And we're even able to now, for the first time in my short experience, tell the difference as you go from single DSD on up into DSD 256, past that to DSD 512. All those nuances that you gain by increasing the resolution show up. All of a sudden, we can resolve that.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
so transparent. We can literally hear the difference of
Yeah.
the different resolutions.
Yeah.
And see where certain things fall short.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that last organ piece that we were listening to.
Oliver Messiaen.
Yeah. I quite literally was shocked. I never heard, we're talking a combination of state-of-the-art products.
Yeah, we're talking Vivid Audio Spirits,
Spirits.
Kabbalah Sosna realization cable throughout,
Right.
AudioNet Stern and Heisenberg.
Right.
We're taking we're doing the Orlick Aries G2.2, feeding it with a realization cable. So sorry to interrupt, David, but I just wanted to make sure that they knew exactly what system we're talking about when we're talking about
the combination of that with the Master Fidelity taking DSD and showing it in all of its power, all of its beauty, what was captured in those recordings, and you hardly even know what to say. It was fun to watch Dean and Dave
He was
there
behind us.
and they're just following along. Dean knows this piece perfectly, and so he is hitting the registers just as they're being hit.
Well, Dean and Dave here are both professional musicians, so
yeah. They look.
they know music.
It is fun to watch because it becomes an out of body experience. All of a sudden, you're just so thoroughly wrapped by the music.
Well, we were playing that Sunoco Miriam Weldy,
Yes.
the Bruck piece,
Yes.
and then the Von
The Von
Williams the
Right.
lark ascending and the noises that was coming out of this guy.
Oh.
I mean, it was
You really should watch those noises.
It was real. No, it just went.
Oh, was it Dave? Oh.
It really was. Go ahead.
I never heard such clarity and beauty, and you could tell the tone of this girl.
She was 23 when she was playing.
23,
Yeah.
you couldn't, Amanda, you would never guess that. If you were listening, you would never think that girl was that young. And she just did a marvelous job. It was engrossing. It was just takes you into another.
She was in the room with us.
Yes.
I mean, she was.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was in the room with us.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the front
Incredible.
row of the concert hall, and she was right there,
Mhm.
and I was just enjoying it like I couldn't believe.
And for me, it transcended that part of the psyche where we use our intellect, we use our knowledge, we use our experience. All of a sudden, we're reaching beyond that.
Yeah,
We're getting into the heart.
to the
Mhm.
soul.
We're getting into the soul. You know, she's a soulful player,
Mhm.
and that transcends into the room and into the listener.
Yeah, you could
Right.
hear her interpretation.
Yes, I'm getting emotional just talking about it, let alone listening to it.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
such an experience.
Oh, it was
Right.
marvelous. It was
Yeah,
fantastic.
I mean, Dominique and company have done a quantum leap. This is not a little step forward. It's not incremental. It is a jump into sui generis. I don't know. I have not heard, definitely not heard any deck that takes the possibilities right out beyond the edge of what I knew possible.
Well, it's
And-
what digital should have been all along,
Right.
and it's finally here after 40
We're
years.
getting here. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we felt we were there 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and we weren't.
No.
And we weren't.
No.
Right.
No, that I didn't feel a diminution at all. All of the things that people associate with quote unquote digital, they just weren't there. It didn't sound like digital.
No, you wouldn't know.
No, you would
You
not.
wouldn't know if it was.
No, you absolutely would not. As a matter of fact, here's mic feed.
Right.
It's what it is.
It sounds like mic feed.
We could hear the bow on the stringed instruments.
Right.
You could hear it was just like you're there. The definition was so real.
Huh.
You could define where the instruments were in the room, not the
Mhm.
speaker, the room. You
Right.
know, and you could hear things that you just absolutely amaze you.
We were talking about on the double bass, we're hearing the character of the cabinet itself, of the double bass,
Yeah,
behind the string.
When you hear the bass note, there's a note that is present. If you played it on a bass guitar, for instance, it would have a certain sound to it.
Right.
This you recognize as strings without any question. You know it's a string bass.
Yeah.
And the way it was played, it has a shape sound to it, not just a flat note. It resonates and it vibrates, and you can. Oh, it was.
No, it's not boom, boom, boom.
No.
Right.
It's you get
All the characteristics and minutia of each individual instrument.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
If he were to put that instrument aside and picked up another identical instrument, you would hear the difference.
Oh yes.
You
You
would
know the
hear
cello
the
from the
difference.
bass.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you put the cello and picked up another cello,
Yeah.
you would say, "Oh, it's still a cello, but that's a different cello."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how clear it was.
Oh, it
Well,
was
see.
unreal.
We were listening to piano music, and we kept saying, "Is this a Bosendorfer? Is this a Steinway?" And we were right more often than not. Just within the first 5 seconds of the piece, we would say, "Oh, that sounds like a Yamaha. That
Yeah,
sounds
you
like,"
could tell.
and we would look it up, and sure enough,
Each of those pianos have different
they have different sounds.
characteristics.
Yeah.
Right.
And
But it
that's
was so
it.
apparent. It
They're
was
so-
so apparent.
They're blatant. They're way
Yeah.
out there. You could tell immediately.
Yeah.
yeah.
That Steinway lower end was, you can't mistake that.
No.
So yeah, it was, and that was kind of fun. It's kind of like a game we were playing.
It was.
Can you name that instrument?
Name that instrument.
Well, a phrase that was told to me by a friend, which makes all the sense here, you could hear the horsehair on the violin bow.
Yes, right.
You know, and you get that level of clarity. And with that level of clarity comes that beautiful sound stage we were talking about earlier.
Well, and the overall effect is you got this orchestra and the dynamics. It's not just they're wide dynamics.
Correct.
On some speaker systems, you lose parts because they're not defined enough,
Yep.
and there's no dynamic to them. Here you could tell that the snare drum in the back was playing very softly, and you could tell he was in the back of the room.
You could hear the wire strings on the bottom side of the snare.
Yeah, oh yes, yes, you could.
You know, the quote, you could
And
hear
when
that.
when the kettle drums come in, I mean, everything you hear, and then the blending of it was the whole piece, and you just go, this is amazing. You're at the concert hall,
Yeah.
and you're enjoying a concert in your own room.
And one of the things that I really like about the Vivid speakers, both in the K line as well as the Spirits, the whole line, is I never hear a difference from low to high. As we go from driver to driver, we go from the low to the mid to the high, it's the same sound
Yeah,
all the way through, whether it's loud, whether it's soft, as
Yeah.
we're ascending or descending, you never hear that tonal shift as
Right.
you go from driver to driver.
Yes.
You don't hear
in
that.
fact, one of the pieces we listened to today, they started with the bass and moved up through the different stringed instruments all the way to the
Yeah, and that was the
violin.
first comment you made when we started
Yeah.
playing that piece.
Yeah.
Was how it was the same sound all
Yeah,
the way through.
Right. Yeah.
it was perfect all the way through.
Mhm.
There was no loss of sound
Yeah.
in the mid or too
No.
harsh in the tweeter.
Yeah.
You know, it was perfect sounding all
Well,
the way through.
that's what, when we refer to the sound being seamless,
Yes.
that's really what we mean, that the individual drivers don't pop out at you.
Yeah. Seamless and effortless.
Yep. Well, for me, the thing was that you go into the realm of true, and this is very rare, true, pure presence.
Yes. Yes.
The system, the system was there. It was living. It was
Yes.
real,
Yes.
and thus it could connect with you at the level of soul
Yeah.
because you're not analyzing or evaluating.
You've gone beyond that. You've
No,
you've reached past that.
There wasn't this real bright sound and harsh sound.
Nothing that takes you away from the music,
Exactly.
right?
It's reproducing the sound of the instruments as they are.
The absence of all the other things that we talk about.
Right. Right.
When those things go away
Even
and
when
you can set them aside.
Even when you went to Forte,
Yeah.
it was clear as could bell.
Right.
There's no distortion. There was no loss of definition.
No.
It was and we had
Oh,
We got it going.
that organ.
that Messiaen was just unreal.
The Michael Murray recording on Telarc.
Yeah, I've never heard an organ presented with that power and that absolute presence in my entire life.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my ears have stopped bleeding, but
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I
the
think
30,
the audience,
it's
that's
the
what we're doing
32-foot
their
stop
job.
pedal,
Yeah.
and you're hearing each vibration,
well, like I said,
every one.
when we were at Exponent, they had a $4 million
Mhm.
sound system. And Dave and I were coming out of the room, we heard this organ music, and we were drawn to it. Well, the place was absolutely packed while they're playing this organ music. And when they were done with it, people started leaving. But anyway, this blew me away today because it was, I think, better than that room. And they had a wall, it was like 20 feet, 3 feet long, stacked with all kinds of equipment and amplifiers and
Yep.
6-foot horns. I mean, $4 million system. This
I never didn't like it.
it's
Right. And I'm very familiar with these recordings. I've
yeah.
heard them hundreds of times.
Well, you play organ.
And I play the organ. So I mean I know this stuff. I've never ever heard it like I heard it today.
Well, see,
Never.
that's what's big is that here you have a performing organist evaluating, and not merely somebody who's playing around on some Yamaha, You played in the big
Play-
places.
Yeah,
Yeah, you played in pipe organs.
I play. Yeah,
Yeah.
And, and so,
So you know the sound.
I have a digital pipe organ at home. I mean,
You know the sound, and when it's reproduced like that,
this. I hate to say better than live, but in some instances,
well, yeah, better than
know.
your life. No,
absolutely better than live. Better than live. Well, and I was talking to Bill earlier. We were in the office, and I said I was smiling, and I said, "We're hearing this stuff better than the people who made it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
yeah,
Better than those who made it when
Right.
they made it. And
right.
here we have the pleasure and the opportunity and the blessing to sit back here and to come over here and listen to this and say, we're hearing it better
Well,
than the
and like
engineers
you
that
said,
cut these out. It's
We've listened for
incredible.
several days, and we're not worn out.
No,
We can go back in and listen some more.
we never got ear fatigue. We've been listening solid for 2.5 days, solid for 2.5 days. And never did we go, oh, okay, my ears are tired. I can't do this anymore. Not once.
No.
Not once.
No, we just enjoyed the pleasure more and more.
Yeah. And each day it got better. Each
Oh,
day it
yeah.
got better.
Yeah,
The
system
NADAC
got
started
better.
to break in.
Yeah,
We had a wonderful dinner last night with Joe Kabbalah. It was fantastic. And I was talking to him about this. And his overarching comment was, look, it's a recipe. It's everything. It's not everything's in the cables, as he'll say, and he's right. And it's more than that. It's not just the cable. It's not just the NADAC. It's not just the recording engineer. It's not just the spirits. It's not just the room. It's this and. It's this and.
yeah.
This and.
It's a combination.
It is a
It's
combination.
a team.
It's
effort.
a holistic
Yeah.
approach.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And of course, what Bill does is we were talking this morning. He says, I'm looking for the best speakers that I
The
can
best
do,
of everything.
the best DACs that I can represent, the best preamps that I can represent. And that's what I go after. And the proof now I hear is absolutely in the pudding. When you
Yeah.
go into these rooms and you have all these different pieces of equipment that you represent, and when you put it all together, all the detractions disappear and you're left with art and
Yeah.
you're left with music.
The reproduction of live,
Totally.
as if it was live.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And he's done it.
Mhm.
He's
Well,
got.
Thank you, guys.
No,
I really appreciate the comments.
Well, I mean, it's,
Pleasure's all ours.
you're
Yeah.
talking about the audio arts, what I call the audio arts, all those realms coming together actually is a new art form because the reproduction of recorded music is like the performance of music that's being recorded. There, this in some ways it links all the way back to Bach or Beethoven, you know.
There's so much involved in getting that music laid down when it's recording. There's so much involved and so much effort. If you've been a performing musician, you understand this, right? And now all of a sudden, we get the benefit of that because we're willing to take the time and the effort to get out
Yeah.
all the effort that they
That's
took
right.
to put
That's
in.
right.
Right.
And through the engineering, and that's why you're saying better than the live oftentimes, is that when they're putting this together, the idea is to reproduce it so it sounds like it's live,
Mhm.
like it's real.
Yeah.
And now they have the technology to do it, and we have the ability to reproduce it
Mhm.
through the systems that we have now that are the best there is. I mean, it's
No.
unbelievable.
Guys, I think we're going to pause here
Okay.
and we'll save the rest for part 2 of this video.
Okay.
All right?
Sounds
Thanks very
great.
much, Bill.
Stay tuned.
We'll see you
Thank you.
with part
Fantastic.
2 in a couple of weeks.
We'll be back.